for how many assets that have gone into this room, it's still not where you'd think they want it to be. And what they're really missing from that group is, some first round talent. Ed Oliver's there. That was a pick very early in their tenure. And looking at some of the other investments that have been made there, Groot, I love Groot. He's been a great player for the Bills. I'm glad he's extended. You have Bosa in the mix now. But then you look at the rest of the defensive line. There was pick spent on Epenesa and Boogie Basham. Boogie's not even with the team anymore. Epenesa, I like as a rotation guy, but is that the impact that you were looking for from a second round pick? We look at all of the free agent additions that we've made over the years. Thinking Star, Quentin Jefferson. Boy, there's so many names there of just people that we've brought in to try to get that room right. And for how many assets have been put into the defensive line room versus other units, you'd think that that would conceivably be a strength of the team right now. And it's really still not there. And looking at what we have right now, there's still a ton of room to grow that room. And you look at defensive end, Joey Bosa is on a 1-year deal. From my understanding, there's some void years on there, and it can be converted, and it can be a longer-term contract depending on how the season goes. But as of right now, it's a 1-year deal. Epenesa's contract is up after this year. You have Javon Solomon in the room. We haven't really seen anything from him yet. Dwayne Carter and Ed Oliver are your two defensive tackles that are under contract beyond the season. Dwayne Carter flashed in moments last year, but did he give you anything solid to plan on him being a long-term answer that's not just more than just hope for development, which is great. I love doing that. If you listen to the show, you know how much I love the preseason. I love seeing these depth players get the extra work, all that. We've heard it from so many shows. You've heard it on this show. Hope cannot be your plan. When you're in a legitimate Super Bowl window, you have to attack the biggest weaknesses on the roster. And for me right now, that's defensive tackle, it's defensive line. So I would be much more inclined, if we're going from a predictive perspective, I would venture to think that defensive tackle would be the first round target. And to a greater extent, I would say that I don't expect the Bills to stay put at 30. I think it's going to go one of two ways. The defensive tackles they're looking at are thinning out, and they use some of their assets to get up higher in round one. Or there's a lot more sitting on the board, and they're comfortable with several guys, and they trade back. And I see trade back as less likely. I don't think it's the move that I would want to do this year because they've gathered so many assets. They have 21 picks over the next 2 seasons. That's not counting any comp picks that we might end up getting next year. So at a certain point, you've built this core of players. You've let a lot of the aging players go. You have a nice youngish core going on here, and you were on the doorstep of a Super Bowl berth last year. So realistically, just seeing all those assets, like, you gather all that, in my opinion, to have the flexibility to move up in the draft. And this is the time period where I would love for Beane to get aggressive and go after a dude that you really think is going to be a monumental difference for this team. And I know all the adage and cliches are out there that you're never one player away. I get that. But I think with all the assets that you have to work with right now, you have to get aggressive and you have to bring in a guy that's an impact, a big difference maker on defense.